the subject matter.
All right, good morning. Thanks everybody joining us here in the room and anyone watching from afar on TV. Welcome to this morning, September 12th, 2023 school board meeting of Manatee County. I know it's a beautiful morning outside, so may not be a whole lot of people watching because they're maybe doing other things outside. We want to begin today's meeting, Mr. Tatum, with reading of the district vision.
The school district of Manatee County will be an exemplary student-focused school system that develops lifelong learners to be globally competitive.
And your introduction?
Sure, I'd like to introduce Pastor Joel Tillis of Suncoast Baptist Church. If he'd like to come up, he'll be giving us the invocation this morning. And Pastor Tillis was very instrumental during the time that we had the COVID situation and helping to keep our churches open so that people could worship, because we certainly needed that during that time. So thank you for leading that effort, and we look forward to your invocation today. Thank you.
Everybody can stand, please.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning and we ask for your blessings, but we begin first by asking for your forgiveness. I pray, dear Heavenly Father, that you would indeed have mercy upon us and forgive us our failures, our sins, and Father, even in fact our hypocrisy, that we ask you to be present here, and yet across our land, and even in this county, we have ejected you from our schools. Dear Heavenly Father, the Bible says that wisdom and instruction begins with the fear of the Lord, and I pray this morning that you would restore unto our nation and unto this very land here the fear of God. And now, Father, I pray that you would indeed bless these proceedings. I pray, dear Heavenly Father, for the leaders here that govern. I pray that you would give them the fear of God and the awareness that one day they will stand before you and give an account for the decisions and the choices that they make here today. I pray that you would give them courage to stand against the onslaught and the indoctrination of our children. I pray that you would give them the courage to do what is right, regardless of party, regardless of sides. I pray that they would do what is just and what is right. And that, dear Heavenly Father, you would bless them with wisdom and guidance. And then, dear Heavenly Father, I pray for the many teachers that they represent. I pray that you would bless those men and women that have sacrificed greatly. And again, Father, forgive us our hypocrisy that we tend to pay ball players more than we do those who hold the lives of our children in their hands. And I pray that you would bless the teachers and the homes that they represent and they minister to. And above all, dear Heavenly Father, I pray this morning that all of the actions taken here today, all of the decisions, all of the thoughts and the proceedings would focus in on the needs and the heart and the future of the young people that are represented here today. Father, this meeting is more. These budgets and these projections and these votes are more than just party sides and affiliations, agendas. Dear Heavenly Father, the life of our republic and the future of our civilization rests in the young people. And I pray that we would put aside all of the petty differences, all of the hypocrisies, and all of the sins, and that we would do what is right and just and true in the sight of God for the children today. Bless these men and women as they lead. Bless all that are here. And may the peace of God be upon our republic, our county, our homes, and our individual lives. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And you can join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moves us to item number 6 on the agenda, which is our agenda amendments. And the chair has found good cause to amend the agenda to include all items listed under agenda amendments on the September 12th, 2023 agenda, updated on September 8th, 2023, posted to the district website, ManateeSchools.net.
So moved.
A second.
We have motion, we have a second, and no speakers are lit, so let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the agenda. via, and that passes 5-0. Approval of the minutes, Superintendent Weissong.
Good morning, Chairman. I recommend approval of the minutes from the August 22nd, 2023 school board meeting and the August 25th, 2023 school board workshop.
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions or anything need to be corrected from the minutes? No?
I could see.
Seeing no one lit up to speak, let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the minutes. And that passes 5-0. Brings us to item number 8, recognitions. Mr. Barber?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Board Chair and board members and Superintendent Weissong. Again, it's a privilege to come before you and tell you some of the good news that's taking place as it regularly does in our schools and with our employees, and we have 2 great examples of that today. And I just want to let everyone know, if you want to see the good news, go to our school district website. Our good news page there is at manateeschools.net/good news. So the recognition that we have first thing this morning is on the morning of Friday, August 25th, a student at Dr. Mona Jane Middle School started choking in a classroom. As you might expect, there was a sense of panic in the classroom as the student definitely showed signs of distress. Thankfully, Dr. Mona Jane professional, Disa McClintock, who's been with the school district for 15 years, knew exactly what to do. She hit her Centegix alert button to signal that there was a medical emergency taking place in the classroom, and that brought Principal Kate Burlog and also student support specialist Kelly Hamill. Unfortunately, the situation was getting worse. So Disa, knowing what to do, took matters into her own hands. She picked up the child and performed the Heimlich maneuver, and which finally dislodged the obstruction that was in the child's throat. And people who were there at the time say that Disa's, and they called it flawless performance in the face of adversity and pressure, very possibly saved the life of that student. So we are proud to have Disa here to recognize for her quick actions and for her courageous spirit in doing that. So, all right. I'd actually like to ask the superintendent and the board chair to come down for a moment. You can stand right here in the middle, and I have a little, just a little something we want to give to you. It's a service award. Thank you very much. Let me get a picture of the 4 of you all up here. Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Give Disa and Ms. Barlog a chance to say a few words.
Thank you for this recognition. It was a team effort. It did put us in a panic. My mind was foggy at first, and then the team assisted, and I just happened to be the one doing the Heimlich maneuver, only because I was just she said, we need to start doing the Heimlich, so I just started doing the Heimlich. So it was a group of us. It was a group of us. Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you for taking the time to recognize her. She's very humble. She did exactly what was needed in the moment, even without me saying anything. She was already in the process of beginning the Heimlich. So I do want to make sure she is recognized for this, and she is being very humble, and I am very proud to have her at Dr. Mona Jane. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
All right. We tried to recognize this employee before, but she was too busy to come down here. I just want to introduce Lakewood Ranch High School athletic trainer Sydney Supa, who was named the 2023 Secondary Schools Athletic Trainer of the Year by the Athletic Trainers Association of Florida. Ms. Supa is in her 7th year at Lakewood Ranch High. Previously, she was a graduate assistant athletic trainer at the University of South Carolina for 2 years. Prior to that, she was an athletic training student while working for her bachelor's degree at the University of South Florida. Regarding the award, Ms. Supa said the following: I deeply care for students as if they were my own. Everything I do, I strive to go above and beyond for our kids and to be there for them when injury, illness, or life makes their path bumpy. I hope the students, athletes, coaches, and my fellow employees feel the love and support I try to set forth, and I believe they do in nominating me for this award. And if we can just show on the screen, so we have some photos. That's when she received her award. Then I think we have some scenes of her in action, Lakewood Ranch High School. It's just tremendous to know that we have these kind of excellent professionals, working with our students in our schools, and a lot of times, in off hours. And I just want to appreciate the fact that Principal Dustin Dahlquist and Athletic Director Kent Ringwist are here to represent her. So I'll let Cindy, would you like to say something?
My student Olivia Heim, that was recognized at the last meeting, warned me that I would have an opportunity to say something. So, as most athletic trainers do, I came prepared. But I would just like to thank the board, Dustin, Kent, and Mr. Barber for taking the time today to recognize me for winning this award. And I really want to thank you guys for taking the time to recognize Olivia Heim. She is just a very special student. And she is already crushing it at the University of Florida, getting her feet wet, working with the recreational teams at the college. So I really wanted to thank you guys for taking time to recognize her accomplishment as the Pre-Professional Student of the Year award. It just makes this moment that much more special, sharing it with her. I'd also like to thank Palmetto High School's athletic trainer, Steve Favia, for nominating me for this award, believing in me, and being a great colleague and friend. I'd also like to thank my mentor from the University of South Carolina, Erin Moore, who also nominated me for this award. She has helped me as a young professional in building my confidence and getting me to this point. Winning this award has reminded me that the work is not done, and I'm very eager and passionate and excited to continue growing and improving the safety and health care of our student athletes in Manatee County. In 2017, the school district started hiring athletic trainers through the District Versus and Outreach program, which is the model we strive for in this setting. And we are fortunate enough here in Manatee County to give all of our time, attention, and resources to the student athletes without having teaching or clinic responsibilities. Manatee County has definitely set the tone of Florida in the model we have prepared for our secondary school athletic trainers. And I strongly believe that the future is bright for the ATs here in Manatee County. As student enrollment increases and athletic participation increases and our athletic department expands with the addition of sports like lacrosse, beach volleyball, flag football, and more, I truly believe behind every successful athletic department is an even stronger sports medicine program. And my goal and my vision for Manatee County is to see the expansion of athletic training facilities as well as additional athletic training staff as each school as we continue to not only set the tone for the state of Florida, but provide the best health care for our student athletes. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
I think she pretty much said it all, and it's just exciting to meet these individuals, both of them that you met this morning, who are representative of the kind of employees we have in our school district. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
You guys.
Thank you.
Moves us to item number 9, public comments. I am told no one was signed up for public comment. So we will move to item number 10 on the agenda, which is reports and presentation. So Mr. Jensen and I know Ms. Fleming will be joining you. So come on up. And this is going to be the presentation of the adoption process for our curriculum,
Morning, Church.
specifically probably social studies.
Board members. I'm happy to be here with you today with Shannon Fleming, who's one of our two directors in the curriculum department, along with Allison Nichols. As you know, one of the most important functions of our curriculum team is leading the adoption efforts of our core instructional materials in K through 12 and all of our subjects like, ELA, social studies, science, and math. 2 years ago, this team led the adoptions in English and math in preparation for the rollout of the BEST standards. And they just did exceptional work, I think, leading a very transparent, community-focused process, and then getting high-quality materials in our teachers' hands to start the school year, and then providing the teachers with supplemental resources and support so that they can use those materials effectively in their classrooms. So in April, this prior April, the state released its list of approved social studies materials. And so following that, we are now ready to begin the process of the K-12 social studies instructional materials adoption. So today, Ms. Fleming will kind of walk you through that process, the timeline for it, and what that will look like here.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Choate, board members, and Superintendent Wysong. As Mr. Jensen said, I'm here to present the overview of our K-12 social studies instructional materials adoption. If I could ask that you would please hold comments and questions until the end. It is a shorter presentation, and so I think we can get through it, and then you can ask questions. All right, so just to start off, just want to review that there is state statute and board policy that requires us to adopt and purchase materials for the students in our district. These statutes and the policy help as guidelines as we prepare for the adoption process and go through the adoption process. As Mr. Jensen said, the state issues a state adoption cycle, and they rotate through the different subjects. And last year they completed the state adoption for social studies. And they published their first list on May 9th, and there have been 10 updated lists since then. The most recent list was published on August 18th, and that is the list that we will use as we move forward in our adoption. All of the information about the state adoption process can be found on the state website, which is located in the presentation. And just as a reminder, board policy states that any course that we are adopting instructional materials for, that if the state has done a state adoption for that course, we must adopt off of the state list. So to kind of walk you through, all of the courses that we are adopting for are part of our K-12 social studies progression. And so you'll see we have K-5 social studies, middle school civics, world history, and U.S. history. In high school, we have world history, U.S. history, and U.S. government and economics. For each of those courses, well, not each of the courses, we'll have 3 subcommittees. So we'll have a K-5 subcommittee, a middle school subcommittee, and a high school subcommittee, which I will talk about those committees later in the presentation. We have a more detailed timeline, which is posted on our district website. It's also been shared with you as well. But I do want to, for the purpose of the presentation, go over an overview of that timeline. So we will start with establishing review committees. Again, I'll talk about that in the next slide in more detail. The publishers will submit their intent to participate, and that actually begins tomorrow and will run through the middle of October. Once they've submitted their intent, we do a technology pre-screen, and that is led by Mr. Hansen and his department. The Instructional Materials Committee will then begin the actual review process, and you can see that that takes place starting in November and runs all the way through January. School sites will have an opportunity to complete online voting once we've narrowed down the selection as the committee. There will be a cost analysis that's conducted, and then we will make the committee will make a final recommendation to the superintendent to bring to the board for approval. And all of that, the timeline is really geared around making sure that we have enough time to order materials and implement with training for the start of the next school year. All right, so to dig a little bit into the committees, they will be comprised of teachers, school-based administrators, instructional specialists, parents, and community members. Again, we will have 3 subcommittees, one for K-5, one for 6-8, and one for 9-12. The committee member applications are available or will be available on the district website under curriculum and under textbook adoption. And those will be open starting tomorrow and will run all the way through September 22nd. Once that closes, the district team will make decisions about who's part of which committee, and we will send notification by the 29th of September. Some important dates to note for those trainings for the District Instructional Materials Review Committee. The first kickoff will be on October 30th, and that will be a virtual session where we will describe the process for our committee. We will introduce them to EdCredible, which is the digital platform we use with our vendors during this process. And this is the first time that the materials will be available to our review committee digitally. On November 7th, we'll be meeting at Wakeland in our subcommittees. There will be presentations from each of our vendors there, and this is where our committee will also do the evaluations on the materials. We will meet again on the 13th to review the evaluation results and to have discussion and rank our top choices, which then they go to the schools for their input. We reconvene on January 8th to review the instructional staff votes and determine a final recommendation for the superintendent. So the last piece of information that we do want to highlight is how our family and community members can be involved. So the most intimate part would be to serve as a committee member. So again, the application will be available starting tomorrow on our district website. So we would encourage our community members that are interested to submit their application there. They also have the opportunity to review the instructional materials, whether they're a part of the committee or not. That will be available electronically. Those will also be posted on the district website. And then they'll also be available physically at the Professional Support Center after the District Instructional Materials Review Committee meets in November. Excuse me. And the last piece is that we'll have a link where community members can provide feedback throughout the entire process. So not just open during the public comment window. This will be a link that they can use to communicate any feedback starting tomorrow through the end of the process, that we will have that information. We can share it with the review committees when they meet. And that is all the information that we have prepared for you. So now we'll open it to you for questions and comments.
I don't see anybody lit up just yet, but I'll just say thank you to you, Dr. Jensen. I know, and to Dr. Breslin, the whole crew. Like, I know this was a change to what it maybe had been in the past, but you know, the legislation obviously said we want parents involved, we want the community involved. So, which I agree, and I think you all have opened those doors relatively easily, right? We're gonna have it here physically, online, be a part of the committee. So I want to just thank you for the work that you've put forward. We do have someone lit up to speak, Ms. Messenger.
Yeah, I actually did have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Yeah. Going back to the state adoption list slide, I think they're not numbered, but it's this one right here. Yes. You said that it's been updated multiple times since May. And my question was, when the list is updated, are more materials added or materials removed, or does it just kind of come and go? I'm just curious.
So when the state originally puts the first list out, they also send feedback to the publishers on things that, you know, why they didn't make the approved list. So then that publisher has the opportunity to adjust their material, either add things to be more aligned with standards, remove things that they may have deemed inappropriate, and then they can resubmit. So most of the time it's additions, and that's what we saw through these 10 different iterations of the list.
Okay, because I remember like when that list first came out, I think there were districts that I think started like working right away, but it just seems like that was probably pretty limiting, and I think that was why the district kind of waited some, and I think that was probably a smart play just to let it flesh itself out. I had a few questions about the timeline slide. The technology pre-screen, The purpose of that pre-screening, is that for security or for functionality for teachers, or both?
It actually has a combination of both.
Okay.
So it's Mr. Hansen, obviously being over IT, helps facilitate the process, but it also involves Lori Pick, who is our instructional technology specialist in the curriculum department as well. So we're looking at both things. We're looking at if it can integrate with Schoology. Obviously we use ClassLink, so it has to be able to integrate with ClassLink. Obviously there's a lot of new policies with security and things like that as well, and so it'll go through that entire process before we're going to put it in front of our instructional materials review committee.
Okay, so whatever goes before the committee has already been checked off on all these other things?
Yes.
Because I would hate for anyone to spin their wheels on, oh, I really like this one, but then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, school sites complete online voting. When I was a teacher, I remember as a teacher voting. Is that who's going to, like all the educators, who votes in this case?
So all instructional staff will have the opportunity to vote. We will do it through EdCredible, so very similar to how it's always been. It's just on an online platform now. So they'll have access to all of the materials digitally. They, of course, will have access to them, the physical copies as well if they wish to have those. And then they'll complete the online voting. And that's just so that the committee can reconvene and make sure that what the committee's recommendation is supported by our schools, because obviously, we want them to be on board as well if we expect fidelity of implementation.
Yeah, you
moving
need to
forward.
buy in from the educators that are
Yes.
actually going to be implementing it. Otherwise, it's a waste of resources. The item that says I'm still on the timeline slide. The item that says school board consideration of committees ranked recommendations. When the school board receives the ranked recommendations, is that going to be based on the subcommittee's decision, or is that going to be based on the votes of the schools, or both?
It's a combination of both. So the committee will come down with the final selections, and then that's what's going to go out to the schools. So they'll be looking at maybe the top 2 or 3 choices. We don't put an exact number on it because we just don't know. We don't want to limit ourselves. And then the school's input will be meeting together again as a committee, and the school's input will be brought to that meeting to have a discussion about, do we need to look at, maybe what the committee thought was the number 2 choice in the school's votes came out to be the number 1 choice. And so we need to have further discussion about how we want to rank it when we give the recommendation to the superintendent.
When the educators that get to vote, can they provide feedback? For instance, like if they let's say it overwhelmingly was number 2, can they elaborate why
Yes.
they chose number
Part of the voting process includes them justifying
Good.
the recommendations.
Yeah. Okay. The next slide is instructional materials review committee, and just so that I better understand, how many members or how many people will be in each of these subcommittees? Maybe you don't know that number yet. Maybe it's based on applications. I was just curious what number you were hoping for.
So we don't have an exact number, but we have asked for representation from every school. So every elementary school will have a committee member for elementary.
They're gonna be big
Every middle
committees.
school, yes, will have have a teacher nominated for middle school, and then every high school will nominate a teacher to participate in the high school committee. And then we'll also have administrators on these committees, so 2 to 3. And then we will, pending what we get for parent and community applications, it will just go up from there.
For the parent and community applications, do you have any requirements that they have any type of background or anything like that, or is it just any parent or community member is welcome to apply?
So anybody is welcome to apply. We do have, questions on the survey that ask, what qualifies them to be a part of this? Do they have any experience, with teaching or learning in their background? Are they part of our current, any SAC or PTO or a business partner, anything like that? So we've added questions in there to try to get an idea of who the person is that's applying.
Okay. Yeah, and also like that they would, they're a stakeholder, especially if they, Okay, that was all my questions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Frey?
Thank you. You did a thorough job of answering all my questions, or asking all my questions there.
I looked over at your paper.
You
and I
must
said,
have checked it. That's why we have the law here now. Okay.
thank you so much for putting this together. It's very simple, easy to follow. And again, the form that was one of my questions. What kind of form is that form going to be available online for people? How long is that form? I don't want to deter anybody by all of the hurdles. Oh, this is too cumbersome. Is it kind of a simple application
You're
for
talking
that?
about the application form?
Yeah, for them to be on a committee?
It would take maybe 2 minutes.
Oh,
Somebody
wow.
could complete it in just a couple of minutes.
Okay. And you have not put a limit on how many members can be on this committee at all?
Not as-
Okay, and I see that you are, I mean, I basically clicked because she'd done all the good questions there, but this is the time where people ask us as board members, what can I do to help? This is the time. You sign up, you get on a committee. This committee is only will apply September 13th, which is tomorrow, and goes through November 13th, right? Am I correct on that timeline?
Well, the application starts tomorrow and will
Right.
be available through next Friday, the 22nd.
Right.
But the actual committee, commitment would
Right.
start on the October 30th training date and then all the way through that January 8th date. So there are
it's
4 meeting dates.
relatively a small window for somebody to serve. It's not a 2-year commitment or 3-year on a committee. This is the perfect little close-knit timeline that somebody can serve on a committee. And I'll be looking for some people to sign up for that do have some history in education. So thank you so much. I appreciate everything you do here, and I hope we can get a lot of good people on this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, Board, Chairman, Dr. Weissel. I just wanted to chime in that this type of committee would be subject to the Sunshine Law and the Public Records Law.
Right.
So I had a question. The virtual training, is that just a training activity and the board isn't, or this committee isn't actually interacting?
Correct. It will just be a virtual training. We actually are going to have Mr. D'Agostino there to provide an overview of what Sunshine is for the teachers because they're not, necessarily up to speed on that. And yes, it'll just be a training. That's the only purpose of that October 30th
Okay.
meeting.
So whenever the committee meets, it'll meet at a physical location?
Correct. And all of that information is already posted and will continue to be posted on our website. Obviously, we're doing the presentation here. And yes, it'll be open to the public.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I don't see anybody else lit up to speak.
I have some questions.
Never mind, Ms. Foreman.
Just going to let everybody go first. Few things. The Credible platform, is that available or accessible by anyone in the public?
It is, yes. And we'll actually put up, obviously right now, because we don't have any publishers or anything in there, because it doesn't open until tomorrow, it's not accessible to anyone. But once everything is uploaded into it, there'll be directions for the public to be able to view the online digital materials through Credible on our website as well.
Okay, so they'll be able to, okay, great. For the public that doesn't make it to the committee, they have an opportunity to provide input?
Yes, there's basically a community member public comment survey, if you will. It's just a forums link that they can input any comments they want, and we will share those when the committee comes together.
And then will the meetings of the committee be recorded? Audio or video or?
The in-person meetings at this time, there's not a plan for recording them. There will be minutes taken at the meetings, and those will be posted, but they are open to the public to attend.
Roughly how many textbooks are being vetted initially by each subcommittee?
in our process, there's anywhere from, I think it's like the minimum, I believe, is 4 publishers, and there's up to 7. I can send you the most updated. I'm happy to send the most updated state adoption list, so you can see which
That's okay,
publishers
we can
are available.
access it, but I was just, it is going to be time-consuming for the individuals on the subcommittees, just because of the amount of materials they're gonna have to review, right?
Correct. Yeah. So for any one particular course, I just looked. The lowest would be 2, and the highest I think is 7 publishers for a specific course.
And the same subcommittee would do like economics and world history and for the high school.
Now, I will say most vendors or publishers have, for our middle school subcommittee, let's just say, they'll have an option for the world history, the U.S. history, and the civics course. So there'll be one publisher. Each publisher may offer a book for every single course. There are very few publishers that don't offer like a course for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade if they're in the middle school list.
I'm just thinking of the high school because the subject areas are very different.
Yes.
Have you considered splitting up high school into separate committees?
We've not talked about it, but I think that it's, if you look around the state, everyone does it a little bit differently, but there are definitely districts that have gone through the adoption the same way, where they're meeting as a committee for all high school courses, and it hasn't seemed to be, have any challenges with it.
But if the high school has got a representative and that representative is a world history teacher, should they be the ones evaluating economics?
And we do have, like, as part of the committee list, we do ask what course they're currently teaching, so that if we see that our committee is lopsided, as the schools are recommending teachers, that we can try to make it so it's not lopsided. But again, when we have courses that are being taught, just because they're teaching world history, they're certified, for all high school social studies courses. So their certification allows them to teach any of the courses that they're reviewing for.
May I also add something?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the really wonderful things about the process here in Manatee County is not only is just the committee the ones looking at these books, but it goes back to the schools so that all the instructional personnel at the schools can review the materials and submit their recommendations to the committee to review. And so those like teachers coming from the schools are almost like ambassadors for all the instructional personnel at the schools, and they're representing the interest of their team, so their professional learning communities, who have, I'm sure, all given them input on the material under consideration. We could certainly look at a model like that, and I think there's merit in some districts do. I think the trade-off with it, of course, is then we're pulling more teachers out of school for more time to participate in the adoption process. And so I really think the process here is pretty spectacular in that we're able to get input from all the members of the community, all the instructional personnel at our schools, and use that to make a decision that's in the best interest of teachers and students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. Check. Nobody else is lit up to speak, so thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it and your time, and good luck moving forward. I know these are always a daunting task, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
And to Ms. Foreman's point, I do think that when I remember back teaching, like, you were able to look at your subject, tell that person who's on the committee, like, here's what we think about this one or that one. So I think there are some communications like that to where, hey, if I'm teaching economics and you're world history, I want your opinion on world history because I don't teach it.
Right.
So,
Okay.
moving up to number 11, the consent item. Superintendent Wysong?
Yes, I recommend approval of the consent agenda for September 12th, 2023.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the consent items. And I know we were all presented during our board briefings about these. So let's go ahead and vote on the consent items for approval. And that passes 5-0. Moving us to item number 12, don't have any. 13. Item number 14, new business, non-consent items, approval of the reclassification communications, public records, associate job description to public records specialists. Superintendent Weissong?
Thank you. I recommend approval of the reclassification of communications/public records associate job description to public records specialist.
So moved.
I'll second.
And Dr. Weissong, just so that public knows, I mean, what exactly does this entail, these changes?
Thank you, Chairman Choate and board members. This is, again, a reclassification of an existing position with someone in the position. So this is not a new job. We're not adding to the head count or anything like that. As all of you are well aware, the volume of public records requests in school districts has increased significantly over the last 3 years, as frankly, as has oversight and scrutiny of those processes, and rightfully so. And so the people doing this work in the 67 school districts really have become highly specialized, well-trained personnel who liaise with every other department working in the school district. And so this has become a position of greater responsibility than what it once was. And so this job description amendment merely brings the printed job responsibilities to the level of what the person in that role is currently doing. And then, as we always do, there was a market analysis done related to compensation, and there is a salary adjustment that's applied here as well, although it is not, it's within our budget to do that. Again, it's not a new position at a full new salary. So, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone lit to speak. So we've got our motion, we've got our second. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the reclassification of communications/public records associate job description to now the public records specialist. And that passes 5-0. Item number 15, new business with no superintendent recommendation. Item number 1, consideration to approve Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, CRI, internal audit of purchasing report dated February 13th, 2023.
So moved.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. And I know Rachel is not here. Is anybody from the district, were we going to present on any of that, or we just approval?
This was presented at the workshop that we just
Correct.
had. And Mark Smith presented it to us. And so it's typical after a presentation that we vote to approve it, and then at that point it goes on the website.
Perfect.
So if anyone's not satisfied, we can have Mr. Smith come back.
I see no speakers lit from here. So we've got our motion, we've got our second. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the internal audit of purchasing. Reported date back February 13, 2023. That passes 5-0. Item number 2 under new business, approval of the proposed 2024 Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards legislative program.
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion, a second. I know, board, we've talked about this
Yeah.
and during our workshop, and so now we need to approve it to send it back to them so they can get it going and start lobbying for the things we want. So let's vote on the approval of the proposed 2024 Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards legislative program, and that passes 5-0. Item number 16, I don't have an updated workshop, but we are full. Everything has been requested. Now has a date on it. If you haven't, we don't have them right now in front of us, but you'll get them at the board briefing. Everything is dated all the way through November, I want to say. Dr.
Yes, sir.
So everything that has been discussed or that was out on that to-do list, I guess you would say, is now on a workshop moving forward. So we're empty. So any new ideas after like November first meeting in November of workshops. We have no more ideas for workshops. We'll just continue those. Those will be continued to go. Yes, ma'am.
I would ask that we get that.
Yeah, if you could
information
send-
right away.
Yeah, perfect.
And if there are additional items, can we entertain the idea of having an additional workshop? Just throwing it out.
You mean after or during this period?
During this period.
Oh, I mean, sure. I mean, if we can, yeah, if you want to add something and see if the board wants to meet.
Yeah, okay.
Sure, yeah. I know we've got some of our workshop days are kind of funky coming up because, Friday, 3 people and the superintendent are gone. So I know that normally we'd have one Friday. We're not having one Friday, right? So I know we're doing one, after a board meeting. And so I know things are going to be a little bit different here in the next couple weeks. A lot of it just is because of travel and some events that superintendent's going to, the board members are going to. So I know there'll be a little bit different dates, not on Fridays. But yeah, if you feel like there's something, absolutely give the Dr. Weissong and we'll see where we can fit it in, or if we can fit it into something we feel like is already scheduled. But as she just emailed the schedule to us, it's all out, and so we should be good to go. No more public comment on that. 17, item number 18, updates, legal department. Mr. Dye?
No report today.
All right.
Been pretty quiet.
That's not a bad thing. No legal reports. Operations update, Mr. Rinaldi?
Good morning, Chairman Choate, board members, Dr. Weissong. Couple of quick updates from a human resources standpoint, give you an idea of how our recruitment is going. Our last operations job fair in August, we had 162 attendees, and this focused on operations. We had 47 offers that came out of that group, 8 bus drivers, 10 custodians, and 29 food service workers. So it was very successful. Our next job fair is once again going to be operations, focus on operations, and is scheduled for the 21st, so September 21st at the Wakeland Center from 2 to 5 p.m. Note that this is a change. We moved it up a little bit. We originally were scheduling it for the 28th, so we have moved it up a week. In addition to that, the reposting of teacher vacancies is scheduled to commence on the 14th after the teacher transfer process and the 10-day student count evaluation is complete as well. So that's human resources. Transportation, from that job fair. They presently have 6 drivers nearing completion of their training, so they're doing the on the road training this week. We expect them to be assigned routes with training support within the next 2 weeks. So hopefully they're going to be on the road. Our new class that we have going right now has 2 additional drivers as well. So we're moving forward incrementally, but we're real exciting about having another 8 drivers in the group at this time. Food service will be celebrating Talk Like a Pirate Day at all the elementary schools with a fun menu and a lagoon jello treat. It sounds scary though. And that's going to be on the 9th, I believe on September 19th. It'll be a fun event, and it is a national event, believe it or not. Just a quick update over the 19 days of school so far. 277,000 breakfasts have been served, and that's a 6% increase over last year, and 513,000 lunches have been served, which is a 4% increase. So we're headed in the right direction there. From our technology updates, we have 108 instructional interactive display boards that will be installed in September and October. Bashaw will receive 46, Canaan 27, Tillman Elementary Elementary 21, and Lee Middle School 14. So we'll be updating the display capabilities in those classrooms. We also have 8 schools that will receive refresh for instructional teacher laptops. And that includes Braden River High, Hale Middle, Able, Freedom Elementary, Bashaw, Southeast High School, and Manatee High School. And that's going to be 597 laptop updates that are going to be occurring in September and October. Good news in regards to the AFSCME union. We were notified by AFSCME that their membership ratified the agreement this past Saturday, and the agreement will be coming to the board at the next board meeting on the 26th. I want to give special thanks to the AFSCME employees that participated in that, and the staff employees as well. It's nice to have that completed and to move forward with the salary increases that we were proposing. And that's all I have for operations. Thank you.
I have a question.
You have a question?
So once we get our new bus drivers trained, maybe it sounds like within the next 30 days, how many active bus drivers do you anticipate us having?
So we presently have 89, so we'll be coming up somewhere around 97 without any loss of drivers, let's put it that way. So we'll be over 95, and I think as we've discussed in the past, right now we have 96 routes that we're starting to serve, so that we're serving presently.
Okay. And on an ideal day, did I hear you one time say about 106 bus drivers would be what would be nice to have, or what would be the?
That would be ideal to have for any call-ins, any sick calls, and it would allow us to get the administrators off the bus routes and back to their desks answering parent phone calls and staff phone calls.
But we're almost going to be at the point where the number of routes equals the number of drivers.
We're getting there, yes.
And do you have an average, how many people call in on an average day, do you think?
I don't have, but we did do an evaluation of that one day immediately after the hurricane, and we were running at 79%. So we're trying, obviously, to get to excess of 95% when it comes to on time, and that was the first morning runs that we did there.
But how many bus drivers a day approximately call in, can't make it, call in sick or?
You could have anywhere between 5 to 10%, so of the workforce, so you could be between 5 and 10 drivers calling in.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Ms. Spray?
I had a real quick question on, you said something about people getting new equipment, tablets and stuff like that. In some schools, personnel has computers that do not have voice capability for training. Anytime they're doing training, they're doing just questions in a chat. Is there a plan maybe in the future to get them updated equipment?
Yeah, the laptop, the instructional laptop upgrades will have voice capabilities.
Right, I'm talking about office staff that goes through training, maybe their equipment. I mean, we always, do the teachers and the paras and all of this, but the staff that's behind the scenes, their equipment. Is there a plan?
Yeah, we can take a look at that, and by using a combination camera as well as a microphone integral with that, we can support them. So we'll reach out and find out.
If you could look into that, I'd appreciate it.
Is.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
I have another question for Mr. Rinaldi, busing wise. Imagine that. I was at a SAC meeting yesterday, and the principal was talking about testing. And if the buses arrive late, that really throws a monkey wrench in their testing. And so is there any possibility, and I don't know the logistics of this, maybe it is and maybe it isn't possible, to give priority busing to like schools that are doing testing on a particular day as we reroute people and we're down, to make sure that for those schools that are doing testing, those buses actually, arrive on time? Is that?
Yeah, we distribute what the testing schedules are, and if we do have early morning testing, then we'll evaluate that to see how we can adjust the routes to support to make sure that the children are there when the testing occurs.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Good point.
That's it. Thank you. Mr. Jensen, yeah.
Hello again. For the instructional updates yesterday, I want to recognize that our schools recognized 9/11 Heroes Day, honoring those who lost their lives in the terrorist attacks and those that, through their heroism, saved lives. While each of our school sites recognize Heroes Day in their own way, I want to highlight Buffalo Creek Middle School and Southeast High School, who held their own special programs to mark this significant date and event. These events included performances by chorus and band students. The Global Perspective students at Buffalo Creek Middle School, led by their teacher Joseph Baker, hosted an appreciation reception for local first responders. And these students also created an American flag memorial to honor the memory of the almost 3,000 people who lost their lives due to the 9/11 attacks in 2001. I'm also excited to announce that the Early Learning and Family Support Team will be partnering with Sorenfor and the Palmetto Historical Park to host a free cardboard challenge on Saturday, October 21st from 10 a.m. to noon. The Cardboard Challenge is an annual initiative of imagination and creativity inspired by the short film Kane's Arcade, and the challenge is a worldwide celebration of children working with their communities to celebrate creativity and childhood imagination. It's being held at the Manatee Agricultural Museum in Palmetto. Thank you very much.
Got a couple questions. Ms. Spray?
Thank you for bringing up the 9/11. I was going to actually bring that up as well during board comment. Is it a possibility that we can put together, I mean, we always do these different specific trainings and all of these other things. Can't we do an educational video that would be in our schools that could be presented at a moment in the morning about the 9/11? I mean, there's enough footage out there to pull together informational for those who were not here during that time. That was a significant time in our life that was very sad moment, and all of those here and out in the entire world witnessed that. Some were not old enough to understand that or were not even born. So is there something that we can do to pull that together and make that kind of part of the 9/11 day, that's an educational tool? I would like to have something like that.
Absolutely. So as you know, 9/11 Heroes Day is part of our required instruction in the district.
Right.
And so all of our schools are required to provide instruction on this event as part of their general instructional program. Our curriculum team has done an absolutely wonderful job of creating a kind of series of instructional resources tethered to all those required instruction topics and days throughout the year. And I think included in 9/11 Heroes Day might be a video resource, but what I'll do is I'll have Ms. Fleming, Ms. Nichols follow up and send that document to you so that you can see what those resources are that are provided to schools for the instruction that day.
Okay. So different resources are out there, but is there a way that we can make it almost a requirement that that video is shared throughout our schools?
Absolutely. I'll share what we send to schools now, and
Okay.
I can also kind of share with you as well how the principals report back to us on
Okay.
ensuring the fidelity of implementation on their.
Okay, because obviously I'm not in the school, but I want to see exactly what is being presented to. And I've looked at different things, and there's a lot of different things that people can pick. But if there was one thing that we could use universally across our district, I think would be great. I don't know. I have not looked at what's been out there.
Can I respond to that?
Please do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think about my daughter that's in kindergarten, and I wouldn't want her to watch something that might be appropriate for a 12th grader to watch.
I get that.
You know, like, I think if there's like some that are for elementary or K-2, or which it sounds like that's what you're saying, I think that might be a better avenue, because I think if there's one that's district-wide, it's either gonna be really watered down for a 12th grader, or it's gonna be so heavy that my 5-year-old's gonna come
I get
home
that. It needs to be
terrified.
It does
you know?
need to
There
be.
needs to be a,
Right.
you know,
Right.
age-appropriate
Right.
variations.
It could be traumatizing to younger children.
I think we probably
so-
do what Ms.
Yeah.
Spray's asking. She just
Yeah.
doesn't know what we're doing, and it'd be great for all of us to see
Yeah.
what those options were.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to share that with the whole board.
Great.
Great, that'd be great. Because I have been asked about that, and I'm like, I'm really not sure. So this is the perfect time for us to get that, and then, you know, I'll be able to have a more educated answer to some of the people who ask me about that. But I get your point. Kindergartners probably would not want to see that.
Or
We would not-
understand it.
Or, right, it has to be at a age level that they can comprehend what they're seeing. So I get that, but I do believe a video would be not the real hard parts, but some things.
Thank
All right, thank you.
No one else is lit up to speak. Dr. Weissong, Superintendent remarks.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I'm glad legal didn't have an update. I'll take their time and go a little longer with my notes. Thank you for your approval of the consent agenda today that allows us to continue with the routine business of the district. I want to highlight for the last 3 meetings, you've approved several student out-of-state overnight field trips for arts purposes. And it's exciting that our students have those opportunities. But I also want to thank all of our arts faculty who are out planning for those trips because it is a major operation to take groups this large to big performing arts events out of state. And so thank you to all the arts faculty who are organizing those opportunities for our students. Also want to thank Mrs. Fleming and Mr. Jensen for the instructional materials presentation. I think as a leadership team, as we've mapped out some things that need to be happening over the next 3 or 4 months, you can expect some additional instructional presentations related to grad rate, literacy, student achievement. So I'm glad that in the first few months here, we were able to kind of take care of some operational things that needed to be addressed. Now that we've got a budget approved, we can turn to our core work, which is instruction. So again, you'll be seeing more from Mr. Jensen and his team this fall. In terms of things that I've been working on, Mr. Chapman and Mr. Edwards have organized a series of meetings for me in the community. And so last week we toured multiple neighborhoods and dropped in to visit some of our 501c3 organizations and also some of our faith-based organizations that provide mentoring and tutoring services after school. And it was great to see our children benefiting from the community. All of these programs are free. They're subsidized through grants or through the generosity of churchgoers. And again, it's an opportunity for our students to extend the learning day off of a school site, get tutoring, get mentoring while their parents are still working. And so we're very grateful to all of those organizations. We also toured the Boys and Girls Club in Palmetto. Mr. Choate and I had previously visited the Boys and Girls Club in DeSoto. It was great to get to see the other club, and Ms. Stanhope took us on that tour. And then last Friday, we had a joint staff meeting between members of my leadership team and members at the health department. And Dr. Bensey gave us a comprehensive overview of not only their programming, but some of the opportunities to continue to work together. She and I met at the Emergency Operations Center, which of course was unplanned, but we had already had this date scheduled. So enjoyed learning from her and appreciate her leadership. On the post-secondary side of things, Dr. Probstfeld, president at the State College of Florida, and Dr. Fritsch, her provost, and I met last week, and I got the tour of that facility, and we talked about a number of opportunities to work together. And I think our next meeting is already scheduled, so we'll have more routine senior leadership meetings between those two institutions. My first visit up to USF was moved because of the hurricane, but I think we've got that back on the books as well. And then finally, Manatee Technical College hosted our annual post-secondary education night last night. We had a great turnout. Thank you to Dr. Gansimer and Dr. Breslin for their leadership and all of their team members who attended, as well as Mr. Wagner for graciously hosting. The parking lot was packed. We had great participation, not only from our state colleges and universities, but a number of out-of-state institutions who are interested in Manatee County students. And it was a great evening. So thank you to all the staff who worked on that. And then finally, board members, I think we've all been enjoying football season here in Manatee County. It's my first season of football here. It's been a lot of fun. Mr. Tatum and I watched the Braden River Lakewood Ranch game last Friday. And board members, as you're aware, we are randomly deploying enhanced security to games. Those methods are very efficient, very unintrusive. There are not lines to get in, but we have increased assurance that that those venues are safe. All of that work is done by our resource officers and guardians who put in a full day on Friday and then head over and do their Friday evening work. So thank you to all of those folks who are keeping us safe. I also want to compliment all of our high school student sections at all the games I've attended so far this year. Great sportsmanlike celebration, very orderly stadiums, and again, that's to the credit of our principals and our leadership teams, our athletic directors and coaches who are reinforcing the importance of sportsmanship at these events. And thank you to that whole team as well. And I think when you're a member of a public or the parent, you're going out to the game, you're not seeing always all of the people who are there working and supporting, from the principal down to the custodial staff. And to think that, again, all of them arrived on those high school campuses at 5:30 or 6 on Friday morning, and they're still there at 11 or 11:30 closing down and cleaning up. So thank you to all of our high school leadership and personnel teams for making Friday nights so exciting here in Manatee County, and also safe and orderly. That's my update for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Board comments today: Tatum, Foreman, Messenger, Spray, Choate. So, Mr. Tatum,
Okay.
start us off.
Good morning. I also wanted to talk about sporting events, and sometimes we just look at football, but I actually was invited to a swim meet, so I went to one of those. And you show up at one of those as a board member, and they look at you like, "Why are you here?" But I think we could. I mean, if we have nothing to do, you know, if you're on a Wednesday afternoon or something, there are other sports. I was kind of disappointed to see we don't have curling teams. I was kind of looking forward to getting a curling demonstration, but apparently we don't. But there is a point to be made that maybe we could go to one other sporting event other than a football game during the year, whether that would be, you know, swimming or whatever. What are the fall? Does somebody know what the fall sporting events are?
Volleyball.
Volleyball is going. Yeah, that would be a good one to go to. So good. So yep. So I'm going to try and hit a few of those. And then, of course, my safety message, which, you know, the chatter, if any teachers are watching this or administrators, I really like, I keep on emphasizing it, the 3 words, safety over secrets, that Ms. Spray came up with. We have done a good job with that to some degree. Some of our students have alerted some of our administrators and security people about threats that are out there, but we just need to keep taking that message and explaining to the students what that means, is that they are really one of our frontline ways of finding any security issues or threats that are going on in our schools. So if the teachers, administrators keep passing along that message and explain what safety over security means, which basically means it's great to be loyal to your friends unless there's a possibility that they might hurt themselves or somebody else, and then we have to say something to somebody. So let's keep up that good work and make sure that we're highlighting that message, safety over secrets. And those are the only comments I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Foreman.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a few update comments, and then I do have some questions about some upcoming items for the board. First of all, the audit committee met last week, and at that meeting, just to keep you all informed, Cherry Beckert, the auditors from outside that do the annual audit, were there they're getting geared up for the audit of the year ended June 30, 2023, and they had a very good discussion, very robust, with the committee members. And then the committee also discussed, which will be coming up in our next workshop, the putting out an RFQ, request for qualifications for for internal audit, and timeline, and Ruth Gruitt was there from purchasing, and she's extremely knowledgeable and instrumental in, as she has been for many years, in getting that done. The Carr, Riggs, and Ingram presented 2 reports that'll be coming before the board, first in a workshop and then for approval. Just a heads up that that's coming. And then reminder that we need more members on the audit committee. Where we had 100% there, but the meeting before that, we were short and didn't make the quorum, and which leads me to the question about the legislative platform. We had discussed, some suggested changes, and I don't see that coming up on another workshop. And I guess there's, as far as the appropriations goes, you're
Still working, yeah.
so you're working on that,
Yeah.
and then there was an item on there that is kind of questionable whether it even needs to be on there, and that was if committee members can attend virtually to make up a quorum. I found it interesting that the Board of Governors for secondary, or for post-secondary, they met this last week, and it was entirely virtual. So, yeah, we need some clarification on that.
That was something Mr. Dye,
Yeah.
was gonna look into, and I don't know if you've got any traction back from that or not, for us to be able to have that quorum but not be physical. I mean, I know you replied back in one of to that, but I don't know if there's been anything else. I mean, I don't.
My opinion hadn't changed. With these committees, there's got to be a physical quorum meeting, but then other people on the committee can meet virtually.
Well, the Board of Governors was 100% virtual, but, which I'm curious how they could do that, but we've been told that, I mean, yeah, I believe we should have the physical presence, okay? But if we're short for a member to come in by teams and for it to count for a quorum, that would be very, very helpful.
There's a limited exception of the rule on large regional boards that they can meet virtually as long as 1/3 of their committee is meeting at a certain site. So they don't have to meet a quorum, and that would be like maybe that case you're talking about, and maybe like a Swift Mud board or something like that.
All right. Well, anyway, so in which case we do want it on the platform.
But just to answer, I'm sorry to interrupt, but to answer, by the 26th, we will have everything ready to go for us to approve.
We will, okay.
Yeah,
So
for
it'll come
for our
back
platform.
before us, okay.
Which we left that workshop kind of with a consensus of what we wanted, except for maybe that one I think is one.
Yeah, and the sunshine, that was
Correct.
tweaked, and we haven't
That was
discussed
tweaked,
it.
yep, and so we'll have that, our thought was having on the 26th, once it gave Mr. Chapman, Dr. Weissong a chance to do their lingo.
Okay.
Can I just dialogue with that just a moment on the quorum? If you meet virtually, this might be a question also for you, Mr. Dye. People can join a meeting virtually, but they, from what I understand, the voting, they cannot vote. So if you have 10 people and 6 of them are meeting on Teams, they don't have the voting capability.
Right.
They can join the meeting, you can meet the quorum, but they're not able to vote on things. Am I correct in that? Pretty sure that's
Well, why have a
So
meeting
why
if
even-
you don't have a quorum?
you don't-
That's what I'm asking Mr. Dye, is that correct? That if you have members on the committee that are joining virtually or through even phone, they're not do they have the ability to vote on any one item that's on the agenda?
Yes, they would.
They would?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's just like they're there.
All right.
And
Interesting.
also, just want to bring to the board's attention that, in November of last year, our board policy calls for us to have annual evaluations of, the, whoever reports directly to us. You know, we've been talking about, Dr. Weissong's. And the audit committee has already had an evaluation of the internal auditors, which they brought to us. And now, in November of last year, we evaluated the attorney, so I don't want that to slip through the cracks. And also, our policy calls for a board self-evaluation. So, which I believe we did that in conjunction
I
with.
remember that last year.
Yeah, with the master board training, but it's something to add to our list for the master board training. So, and that's all I have. So, thank you.
Ms. Messenger?
I don't have very much of anything to say other than I thought this was a really good informational meeting. I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you, everyone, for all of the information and the good discussions, and the chair did a nice job running our meeting, and I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spry?
I have a few items. First of all, I want to recognize our retirees, like I always do. Food service worker, Miss Lisa, 24.2 years, and vehicle maintenance. So 30 years in vehicle maintenance is a long, long time. Mr. William, I will say, I don't like to mess up anyone's last name, so I want to say thank you for their service to the district. Also, Ms. Foreman brought up the audit committee members needing people to join that committee. We also need them on a CFOC committee as well. And I know that the CFOC has, I don't know about the audit committee, they're able to get information that's requested that they want to audit or review. I don't know how fluid that is from the district, but with the CFOC, it's been a little bit of a challenge, and I would like to get that fixed as soon as possible, that the chair on that committee gets what she's asking to review to prepare for their October 4th meeting. So whatever the staff can do to help with that.
If I may, Mr. Chapman does have an update for her, and that'll be shared today.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Probably now.
Going on as we speak.
It's going on. Oh, I didn't see you back there. Thank you. Oh, I didn't see you back there. Hi. Okay. I just wanted to bring that to the attention. Also, I just want to mention in advance, the Veterans Parade is in November on 11/11 on a Saturday. That will begin at, I think, the fairgrounds to Sutton Park. I know our schools are, 6 of them, I believe, are participating in that. So I would like everyone to put that on their calendar to hopefully attend. And to the superintendent and Mr. Chapman, to add to your busy calendar to tour One More Child's Compassion Center and the Guardian Angels Foster Campus. Still waiting to get that on the calendar. I know you got a lot, and I've been kind of letting you do your thing here in town, but that's one thing I'd like to get on your schedule. Also, I want to recognize that the Observer, I'll hold this up, put a very nice picture of one of our cafeteria food service workers in the Observer, and it was a very nice article inside. I know this wonderful woman, and when I saw the paper and then I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh. And she's pointed it out, oh, they've misprinted. I'm not the cafeteria manager, but, so we'll forgive the Observer for the title there. And then I want to go to where I say safety over secrets. Hopefully we can get a banner in every one of our schools for that. I think, or a picture or something. I think that would be a good message for everyone to see when they walk into our schools. Even maybe on a bus, a little sticker would be nice. But I want to bring out that not only the safety comes in all kinds of forms, and we've all gotten emails about some bullying issues that's going on. We need to, I want the district to understand, bullying can come in many forms: physical, words, social media. It can happen with students, it happens with staff, and it happens from this building out. And we need to recognize that that's very hurtful to any age bracket, from kindergartens to seniors. It's not acceptable. We have policy against that. And if we as a board have to review that policy to make that a little more stringent, that it's would stop some of these things that we're getting emails about, then maybe we need to look at that. But I want everyone to be a little more sensitive to people who may be going through things that you don't even know. And whatever level you're at, treat people with respect. Treat them as if they were your family, because everyone has somebody in their life. And that's what I look at people as: somebody's mother, grandmother, somebody's father, somebody's uncle. Treat them like their family, because they really are part of our district's family, and we need to keep that in mind. Other than that, I think that's all I have. I know that was a lot and long-winded, but I appreciate the work that we did today. I think we're doing really well, and again, thanks for all the updates from you, Mr. Wysong. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have too much. To reiterate what Mr. Tatum said about some other athletics events, we do have the game of the week. I think is a volleyball tonight. I think I saw on Facebook. Braden River and Manatee, I believe, is the game of the week. So if you can't make it out to the game, you can always turn on MSTV and see some of our student athletes playing their sports. So agreed. The students put a lot of time and effort, whatever sport they're playing, they put a lot of time and effort outside of the traditional school day. So they should all be celebrated and recognized. Other than that, thank you all for the meeting. Staff, thank you. Appreciate it, as always. And we are, I will say, to the board members that are going to the event for the chamber this weekend, and Dr. Wysong as well, I believe as well. Love to hear back from when you guys come back what's going on and where kind of we're moving, in the community, and how, as a school district we're moving with in conjunction with everything else. So have fun. Look forward to it.
Yep.
And we are adjourned.